Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District meeting for Thursday, August 14th, 2025. Just want to give a shout out to my husband, Christopher, who is celebrating his birthday today, and I'm here in Kamloops and he's in Ashcroft. But we're going somewhere nice for dinner tonight, I am told. The TNRD acknowledges we connect with many First Nations communities across our vast regional district, and today we are located in the Kamloops-Secwepemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have with the Kamloops-Secwepemc, and we respect the territory and land on which we gather today. The Thompson-Nicola Regional Library is very pleased to share that the Clearwater Library renovations are nearing completion. August 23rd will be our final day at the Dutch Lake Community Center, which has been the Clearwater Library's temporary home for the last few months. Thank you very much to the District of Clearwater and to the Wells Grey Country Seniors Society for their support and their collaboration during this renovation. Please stay tuned for an announcement about the September reopening of the Clearwater Library in the newly refreshed space. Keeping it in the North Thompson, we have received a thank you card on behalf of the Barrier Rec Committee, the District of Barrier, and the residents of the North Thompson Valley. We cannot thank the TNRD board enough for its generous contribution to the 2025 Barrier Block Party. This year's event was extremely successful and well attended, and we appreciate the regional district's role in ensuring that success. We are so very grateful, the Barrier Rec Committee. Upcoming meetings and events. September 9th, the Accessibility Advisory Committee will be meeting at 10 a.m. On September 10th, the Electoral Area Directors Committee will be meeting at 9, followed by Policy and Governance Committee at 1:30. And on September the 11th, the Hospital District Board will be meeting at 10 a.m., followed by the regular board meeting at 1:30. September 22nd to 26th, I suspect that most of the people here will be attending the Union of BC Municipalities annual conference and AGM in beautiful Victoria. Today in your folders, you will find regular mail and a memo from our General Manager of Operations regarding the highway entrance signage project. And finally, in the event of an emergency, if the fire alarm sounds, please leave by the safest and nearest exit doors, either at the rear of this room or the main entrance on my left. Go down the staircase, exit the building, and assemble in the staff car parking lot at the rear of the Paramount Theatre. Please do not run or use the elevators. If you have issues with mobility, please advise the corporate officer. Are there any additions to deletions from the agenda? No, seeing none. I'd like to also welcome Director Onslow, who is with us in spirit, if not in body or corporeal presence, who's up there in Zoom land. We have the minutes of the regular board meeting that was held on July 17th. Seconded, moved by Director Middleton, seconded by Director Newstater. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We have one delegation today from Taseko Mines Limited, the Yellowhead project. Presentation from Project Manager Cora DeWalt-Gagnon and Community Relations Advisor Ursula Johnston, who will be providing us with an overview of the Yellowhead project and upcoming public comment and information sessions. So over to you and welcome.
Thanks. What's up to everyone? My name is Cora DeWalt-Gagnon. I am a Kamloops-Secwepemc band member, Kamloops resident, and also the Yellowhead project manager. Today, I want to start with who is Taseko. So Taseko is a growing BC copper-based producer. We have our producing asset, Gibraltar, near Williams Lake. We are a proven operator and developer, and we have a habit of acquiring long-life, low-cost assets. With that, we have our Florence Copper operation currently in construction, and that is slated to be in production later this year. But we are committed to creating high-value pipeline projects. One of which, the next one that Taseko is really investing a lot of time and energy into, is the Yellowhead project. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. As a company, we have about 838 employees. That number is in from 2024. When we look at recruiting, we focus on local recruitment. So in 2024, 100% of the Yellowhead employees were recruited locally in the area, Gibraltar at 69%, and Florence Copper at 26%. For any of those of you who know me, equity, diversity, inclusion is one of my passions. And so proud to say Yellowhead is still 100% female currently. In terms of Gibraltar, we have 23% female representation, 15% in Florence, and at our corporate office, 25%. Now, the Yellowhead project. What is the purpose of the Yellowhead project? The purpose is to provide a responsible source of copper to support the energy transition while creating social economic benefits within the region. Copper is the metal of electrification and is really essential to the energy transition. The demand for copper is expected to double by 2035, and in order for us as a country to meet our goals, we don't have enough copper currently in production. So Yellowhead would be a responsible source of copper, and due to the clean energy supply and strong environmental regulatory standards in BC and Canada, it well situates this project. So the Yellowhead project is a proposed open pit copper project with a 25-year mine life, and it's located within Simpcw, and it's 150 kilometers from Kamloops, where we are today. The nearest communities are Vavenby and Birch Island within the TNRD. And we're very lucky. It's near a minely-friendly jurisdiction, so it's near power, rail, and highway. It would be 90,000 tons per day. It would support around 590 employees through that life of mine. And we have initiated into the SIMP assessment process, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. You may have heard that it's going to be the second largest mine in Canada. It's actually the second largest producer. So when we talk about largest, we're really talking about how much annually is produced. And so the Yellowhead project would expand Canada's annual copper production by 16% over the current 2023 levels. As I stated, we have entered into the SIMP assessment process, and that was in 2024. So we've been working very closely with SIMP First Nation. It's an Indigenous-led consent-based process, and it ensures the project assessment is appropriately considers and respects SIMP's values, laws, interests, priorities, and culture. As I stated, we are currently in step 2 of the SIMP process. More recently, we entered into the provincial and federal processes. So on July 7th, we were accepted into both those processes, and this is just kind of a roadmap of how long it could take. So when you're looking at assessments, those can be around 5 years. Permitting can be around 2 years. The construction for the Yellowhead project is estimated between 2 and 3 years, and then a 25-year mine life with closure and post-closure. Looking at what could the economic impact be of this project, total revenue would be more than $17 billion. During construction, which is a 2 to 3 year period, there would be approximately 2,000 jobs required. And as mentioned prior, 590 roles through the life of the mine of operations. When we look at provincial GDP, we're looking at $4.5 billion and $10.9 billion within the TNRD district. Government, $3.9 billion, and then again in the TNRD, $2.9 billion as provided by the BC Stats Economic and Assessment Report. Now, I like to highlight the jobs that are in mining because I was never a little girl who, pictured, I'm going to work in mining. I didn't know this was a possibility for me. And so I just really like to highlight the diversity of jobs that are available for a project like this. It's not what you picture. It's not a, pickaxe in a mine. There's a lot of diversity, and with technology improvements over time, there's plenty of diverse jobs that are available to a lot of individuals. And so I didn't know that these existed as a little girl. Looking at what have we done in 2025? So we had Yellowhead project open houses in Vavenby, Clearwater, and Barrier, and we had close to 600 community members come out for those open houses to learn about the project, meet our team, and ask their questions. We did submit our initial project description, and that was accepted into the environmental assessment process. And a week later, we published our updated technical report. We've launched our project website. We have the Copper Wire newsletter with updates on our project. And this summer, we had our site investigation program and ongoing our environmental baseline studies. And what are next steps? So as part of the environmental assessment process, the EAO will be hosting open houses and an information session. So on September 4th, community members can participate in a virtual information session. They have to register for the Zoom meeting for that. And then there will also be an in-person open house September 10th from 4 to 7. So while that's hosted by EAO, our team will be there with project information as well. The public comment period is also open for the project. So that's from up until September 15th. And you can find the initial project description as well as opportunities to submit comments on the ATPEC website. And then if anyone wants to stop by and meet our team, our office is located in Barrier, and we do coffee and conversations every third Wednesday, every third Wednesday from 10 to 2. So feel free if anyone wants to stop in and have a coffee to learn about something of your interest, our team's there. And the next date is next week, August 20th. That is all I prepared to provide for information, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any questions? Director Newstater, first of all, and then Director Ranta.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your presentation, Cora. I'm curious about those initial community meetings that you had. What was the feedback in that space? What's kind of the vibe out there in those communities right now?
It was extremely positive. One, we were blown away by the attendance. EAO even said that type of attendance is unheard at events like that. But really, there was a desire by the community. One of the biggest questions is when? How fast? When are jobs? When can I apply? So we were really grateful for the community's not only support in attendance, but the enthusiastic support for the project.
Thank you, Director Ranta.
Yeah, I used to drive a Greyhound bus up and down Highway 5. And what I'm wondering is what the proximity to the highway is. Will you be able to see the open pit from the highway like you can Highland Valley when you're driving by there? Or how far away from the highway is the open pit mine intended to be?
Yeah, great question. So the rail out facility is located in Vavenby. However, the project site is up for Forest Service roads in Vavenby, so it wouldn't be visible from Highway 5.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I sit on a utilities committee on the TNRD, and the area up there in Vavenby and Birch Island could use a little love on their water utilities. When organizations like Enbridge come and make presentations, they've encouraged us to apply to their community, social community, economic development team. I don't know if it's premature, but is that an avenue in the process that you're going through that the area director might say, here's something that would really work well for our constituents?
So at this point, like we have a small community investment program. We're not a mine that's in operation, so that pool of money is quite small. However, we are looking for feedback on the impacts of the mine through the process, the EAO process. Another question that comes up often in that regard is, where's your camp going to be and what services are going to be required? So the proposed camp will be at site and will be self-contained. So we won't be utilizing any of the services. However, again, open to feedback and listening and understanding.
Director Onslow and then Director Getz.
Thank you for that. Nice to see you again, Cora. My question is, have you been in, or has Taseko been in contact with Trans Mountain? Because when they were pulling out from the pipeline expansion, there was elected officials and other stakeholders who held a meeting and captured many of the lessons learned, and in particular, Blue River with the worker camp of 500 people in the community. It had a large impact on our community, and Trans Mountain captured those lessons from people to share with other large projects in the future in the valley.
Yeah, so from the top of my memory, I believe the report was the What We Heard report. I do have a copy of that report. While the people I used to engage with Trans Mountain have since moved on, our team in Vancouver is also in close contact with Trans Mountain.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Director Getz?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. A couple of questions. You may not be able to answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. My life began as a worker at Craigmont Mines. I went up to Gibraltar for 6 years, drove a haul truck, ran a drill, and then went to work for JS Redpath Underground. I'm just wondering, do you know what percentage of copper would be coming out of this? And would there be other things, like when I was at most of these mines, we not only took out copper, but we took out molybdenum, we took out silver and gold. Is there some of those that will be coming out of this? And what would be the exact time of, I'm assuming it'll be a 5 to 7 year program before it actually starts to produce as the mine gets built? Just questions like that. And has there been ground studies? Like I used to work at Afton and open pit, and I left because it was too unstable. So are there going to be ground studies on the stability of the pits as they move along? I'm just curious.
All really great questions. So I'm going to try my best to answer them all. One, so copper is the main mineral. However, you're right. There is also gold and silver byproducts. We, as part of not only our baseline studies, we're in a unique position that this mine was a proposed mine previously. So not only do we have the historical data of that proposed mine, but we have all the baseline studies that we're doing as well. So we have great history of support in terms of making sure that the tailings or the open pit are stability, geotechnical considerations. And I forget what other questions you had. I'm sorry.
The timeline of
Oh, yes.
when people would actually, or I understand people would actually start working, but the timeline where the company would actually start to sell their product, it's usually a 4 to 5 year before. With Ridpath, I was up at Hemlo, and it took 5 years for them to actually start selling the gold that we were digging. And I'm just wondering if there would be an immediate sale, or would there be, because you mean, you've got to come up with the floats, you've got to come up with the filters and the whole bit. So I'm just wondering, is there a timeline when actually the company will start actually selling their product?
So we've just entered into the environmental assessment process. So that's a multi-year process for for us to receive our certificate and permits. Once those are in place, then we have a construction period that it's estimated at 2 to 3 years. And then at that point, we would be in production and selling the concentrate.
Anyone else have any questions? Director Haughton?
Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation. The product that you're going to produce, will it all be head to their destination via truck down the Yellowhead, like through Kamloops and off to Vancouver? Where is the planned destination? The Port of Vancouver, or?
Yeah, so the plan is we will have a rail loadout facility at the current warehouser facility. So it'll be railed down to the Vancouver port is the current proposed.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? No? All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Look forward to hearing more over the next number of years.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right, we move on to 7.1, zoning amendment bylaw number 2884 in electoral area M. We do have a recommendation. Director Haughton, thank you. Seconded by Director Thorpe. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you, that is carried. Development applications, 8.1, unsightly premises bylaw number 2307. We do have a recommendation. Director Sarai, Director Ranta seconded that. Thank you very much. On to discussion. Anyone have any discussion, comments, thoughts? Thank you, staff, for your comprehensive report and your efforts over time. No questions or comments on this item? All right, on the question then, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you, that is carried. Director Onslow, just, I know it's a silly thing, but we have to hear you verbally give your vote.
In favor.
Thank you very much. Item 8.2, Agricultural Land Commission application, Sunshine Valley Road in Area N.
Recommendation.
Director O'Reilly, seconded by Director Graham. Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 8.3, Development Variance Permit Number DVP 128 in Electoral Area M. We have a recommendation. Director Laird, thank you. Seconded by Director Graham. Any discussion on this item? No? Again, thank you to staff for your very comprehensive reports with multiple visual aids, which I, for one, very much appreciate. Any discussion on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 9.1, CAO Verbal Report, over to CAO Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Roden, and good afternoon, everyone. Just got a few updates for the board today. Number one being the EOC update. As of this week, we've been activated for 8 days for wildfire. We've had 4 different fires, the Mount Scatcherd, Nakaya Creek, Eisman, and Cantilever fires. All of those included both alerts. Very few orders, and things so far, knock on wood, have been going quite well this season. Still some concerns that we've been dealing with. And then also on July 21st, we had a rain event in Venables Valley. There was debris flow through some of the farms and Hilltop Gardens. Both were identified in geohazard reports that we were told would be at risk. So nothing has changed. We continue to work with the province on that, but they continue to be a threat in the future for rainfall events. Also under the EOC topic, Mr. Kevin Skrepnik was requested to deploy to the Regional District of Nanaimo from August 4th to 8th to support their EOC for the Wesley Ridge fire. The knowledge and experience from our EOC team was well recognized across the province, and we're happy that Kevin could go and assist and train our colleagues on the island. And then finally, under the EOC topic, as I also wanted to acknowledge the first self-deployed call out for a lightning strike for the Tranquil Valley Wildland Fire Response Team. The recent S100 and S185 training that we helped provide just a week prior made all the difference in their ability to respond successfully to this lightning strike and then successfully pass it over to BC Wildfire Service. So this is just another great example on how this community program is making a real difference. Secondly, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the Monty Creek Fire Hall grand opening. We're pleased that the Monty Creek Fire Hall is now complete. The fire department has moved in, and our grand opening is scheduled for Saturday, September 13th from 11 to 1. Everyone is welcome to attend the grand opening. There will be a ribbon cutting at 11:15 and a barbecue to follow at our TNRD Fire Smart booth. The new fire hall serves just over 350 properties in an area where there was previously a gap in fire coverage between Kamloops and Pritchard. We're happy for the residents that this fire hall has been finished and appreciate the work our staff have put in around fire protection facilities and operations. A big thank you goes out to Linda Herman and the late Ed Herman. As you know, the Hermans donated this land on Hook Road where the fire hall was built. Ed tragically passed away in the spring of 2021, and Linda upheld that donation. We will have a plaque at the fire hall property to recognize the Herman family and this generous contribution to this vision. And I'd also like to mention that former directors Mel Rothenberger and the late Ken Gillis played a big role in moving this proposal forward during the previous board's term. And then thirdly, Sun Peaks Transfer Station upgrade. As of August 3rd, 2 new compactors have been installed at Sun Peaks Transfer Station. This is a significant upgrade that will improve hauling efficiency from the site. These 2 compactors replace 3 existing drop-off bins. One compactor is set up to receive commercial cardboard and the other for receiving garbage. With these compactors in place, waste can be compacted at the site before being hauled away. This new process will lead to far fewer vehicle trips to haul waste away from the site, which also led to fuel savings and reduced carbon emissions to operate the site. So we thank customers of Sun Peaks Transfer Station and their patience during this install, but a nice upgrade for everyone involved. And then just one quick late addition. We talked about our enterprise capital project, the ERP. I want to give a quick update on that. Our team has been working very hard for this important project, and we have concluded the RFP evaluations, and we'll be moving forward with a preferred proponent. We'll be able to bring forward the final recommendation to the board of directors in October with contract award and details to follow. So we're excited to continue to move this significant project forward. And now I'd like to pass it over to Mr. Corbin Kelly for a few updates from his portfolio.
Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. Just 3 things from me to share with the board this afternoon. The first is around First Nations engagement. I mentioned in a previous board meeting that we were in discussions to plan a community-to-community forum with Kamloops. That has now been scheduled for September 12th and shared with directors involved. We are also currently in discussions with First Nations who we have partnership agreements with on areas of joint advocacy specific to UBCM and beyond, which is of course part of the advocacy framework that the board passed last December. Second, I do want to take a minute to thank Rory Jakovic, who has been our policy and external relations summer student. Rory's last day with the TNRD will be on August 22nd. I know many of you have had the opportunity to work with Rory over the summer, especially as it relates to planning for UBCM. The TNRD really appreciates Rory's contributions to the region, to our advocacy work and to UBCM planning, and making it what I hope is going to be a very successful conference this year. So thank you, Rory. And lastly, an advocacy update. Report is coming this afternoon to highlight the topics that the TNRD will be taking forward to UBCM. A reminder that board-endorsed advocacy topics are as follows, including highway safety, the agricultural land reserve, small water utility system funding, egress route maintenance, invasive plant management, rural connectivity, and the Kamloops Cancer Center. I do want to flag for the board, we've been having a number of staff level discussions leading up to UBCM, and it's been clear that due to the province's budget cuts, we are less likely to see a number of familiar faces at UBCM. Many senior staff that we used to see at UBCM that would brief the ministers are unlikely to be able to attend. So we're doing a lot of pre-work to make sure that ministry staff are well versed in the concerns of the TNRD and our advocacy priorities, and ensure that they're able to brief the ministers well in advance, even if they aren't able to be in Victoria. With that, I would be happy to take questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for CAO Hildebrand or External Relations Manager Kelly? Director Sal?
Thank you, Chair. Through to Mr. Kelly, regarding the advocacy tours, similar to the one that was undertaken to Victoria earlier this year, is there a plan for another one with the chair and our staff and yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Director Sao, yes. We're currently in discussions with administrative staff in Victoria to plan one for later this fall, likely in November, before the legislature rises for the holidays.
Director Lepsoe?
Thank you. This is more of a comment to the CAO. As you mentioned, the Scatcherd fire. I just happened to run into one of the skimmers guys that fly the airplanes. And it was interesting. He mentioned, I didn't know these things, that they have a code red, a code blue. And the code red, they got to be there in an hour. Code blue is 2 hours. And I just found it was interesting for me to make my call to know the whole picture, because even if they're calling out for a code blue, I'm like, okay, they're not as excited about the fire, you know, coming this way. So eventually it'll be neat to maybe coordinate, or maybe it's being coordinated already, but it's just nice to know the full picture when these things are happening, because our fire trucks have to be out of there when they bring the skimmers in. So if we know we have an hour, we know we'll hit it hard for the first hour, because then we got to get out of there. So I just thought it was interesting information.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? No. No? Thank you, gentlemen, for your reports. 9.1.2 CAO 360 Performance Review Process. We do have a recommendation.
Move the recommendation.
Director Middleton, thank you. Seconded by Director Thorpe. All right, any questions or comments? Anyone who is interested in putting their name forward to be a part of this committee, please send me an email. Did we decide on a closing date? 4 p.m. today? I don't know. No, not 4 p.m. today. I'm joking.
I think maybe 1 week would
1
be.
week, all right.
So the end of day on
4
Thursday,
p.m.
August
a
21st.
week from today, we'll say. So if you are interested in being on this committee, please send me an email. And I counted up the other day and I have 8 different emails. So don't tell me you couldn't figure out how to get hold of me. And then we will be making an announcement. We do intend to have this wrapped up fairly quickly. And I think those who've been on it before will say, we'll tell others who have not had the opportunity that it is a very interesting process. You're going to be away. What, for a whole month? I don't think we should allow that.
I think someone else said that.
I think we have to get that on the next agenda and vote on it. All right, we will sort that piece out. So anyone have any questions? No? All right, on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 9.1.3 Federal Pre-Budget Consultation. We do have a recommendation here regarding our MP Frank Caputo. Director Ranta, thank you. Seconded by Vice Chair Smith. Any discussion on this? Thank you to the people who put the information forward or suggestions forward. MP Caputo's in the interesting position of being familiar to some of the elected officials here and being unfamiliar to other elected officials here because of the riding redistribution. Director Middleton?
Thank you. We had both MPs at City Council giving us a bit of a presentation, and this came up as well. And both MPs, so MP Caputo and MP Arnold, are working together on this as well. So they're working as a team for our area. So if you're not represented by MP Caputo, you could still send your ideas through to him or your concerns, because they will be shared with the MP Arnold for, the other side of the riding. So please, don't think that this is only limited to putting your ideas forward. If you actually happen to be in MP Caputo's area, they are working together.
Thank you. Yes, I forgot that one of the big differences here is that Kamloops is now split between 2 ridings. All right, any other questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have some information here from External Relations and Advocacy Advisor, as alluded to a few minutes ago. So, Mr. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not too much to share typical report that I bring forward every year just to remind the board what it is that we're bringing forward to UBCM, including electoral area director specific advocacy priorities and topics. And really nothing different from previous years on that front either. A lot of the same, which is good because I think it's important for us to remain consistent in our requests of different ministries and of the province. So unless there's any questions from directors, really just for information to share.
Any questions from directors? All right, thank you very much. Item 9.1.5, amendment to Schedule D of the 2024 Statement of Financial Information. We do have a rather lengthy recommendation. Director Blackwell, thank you. Seconded by Director Sarai. Any questions or comments on this? No. On the question then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Area M and N Fire Protection Service. We have a couple of recommendations.
I move the recommendation.
Director Laird, seconded by Director Graham. This is recommendation number 1. Thank you. Any discussion on the first recommendation? Director Laird.
I'll just give a bit of a background on the process we went through. It was a very long process. It was initiated by the local residents for us to review and see to be sure that service was being provided. They had quite a discussion around the cost of providing service. It took quite a while to review everything. We had different ideas of relooking on how expenses were allocated. Everything was indicated that we were doing it the right way. And basically, probably 2/3 of the residents didn't want to pay for the service. And it was very interesting. About 2 weeks before we had the meeting, I said to the meeting, I said, wouldn't it be interesting if we had a slight fire in that community? And 3 days before the meeting, we had a fire. The fire department responded within 20 minutes. It could have been quite a serious grass fire, and the discussion was over. The residents finally figured out that fire service is required, and it's very hard to get. They're just at the very out. They're 20 minutes out of the fire from the fire hall. The fire truck got there within 18 minutes. One of the residents that had actually caused the fire was seriously burnt because he fell into the fire that he'd started that caught the rest of the community on fire. So interesting process. I thank the staff very much for the time and effort that we put together to come up with a resolution. I have no idea what would have happened if we hadn't had the fire. And I did admit that I never lit the fire.
The timing was a little,
Little suspicious.
It wasn't
No.
me.
It was a very interesting process. I was a part of that as well. And thank you to Director Laird and to Director Graham for stick handling this through. Some of the residents were, it took some persuading but I think that there was a very full and fair and frank discussion. And I think that they were able to be heard, which was very important to them. We're going to be getting on to what I think is going to be a very helpful part of, I think this has played a part, the dry hydrant, in persuading them as well. So we'll get to that in a moment. But does anyone else have any questions or comments on the first recommendation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. And we have a second recommendation. Director Graham makes that, seconded by Director Newstater. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Director Laird?
This is an important part of the, basically the recommendation. There are timelines. If we would like to have a dry hydrant in there in the next 2026, there's only certain times of the year you can go in the lake because the lake fluctuates up to 8 feet and up and down with the dam. And the only time you can get in there is in January, February. So if we don't start the process until 2026 budget. It won't get done until 2027. There's a lot of applications that have to be made. We have to deal with the highways and ministry people to be able to access the lake. And it's a very key part of fire protection in that area. That is the only hydrant that's available other than actually, what do they call it? Dragging, basically sucking water out of the lake. In the middle of the winter, you can't do that because it's the lake is so far down, you can't access any water. So it's very key. So I don't know whether we need to have a motion, but I was just reflecting on the timelines. So if you want to have it done this year, it's got to start sooner than later. Otherwise, it'll be a 2027 project. Thank you.
Anyone from staff want to address what the possible timeline for this could be?
Yeah, so we're recommending putting it in the capital plan for 2026 to enable us to work towards it next year. But you know, and it'll be worked on beginning next year. I can't guarantee it'll be in by 2026. I've had that discussion with Director Laird, but we'll do what we can to expedite it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the question? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. 9.1.7 Canada Community Building Fund, the Monty Creek Fire Hall Phase 2.
I so move.
Director Haughton, seconded by Director Morris. Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Director Haughton?
Yeah, I just want to say that the works that are going to be done with the funds that we're allocating today will bring the fire hall to the next step and make it a nice finished fire hall with lots of necessities that they need to operate the fire hall. We didn't have the money in the original budget. We decided to put it through the community building fund, Director Morris and myself. And it's going to be a beautiful setup once it's all done. We toured it the other day with staff and it's beautiful. Even without it, it's going to be nicer with it. So appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 9.1.8 Canada Community Building Fund and Growing Communities Fund, Loon Lake Water System Bottled Water Fill Station. Director Smith, I think you want to move that recommendation, seconded by Director Hall. Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? I know it's alluded to in the staff report, but residents who are on the Loon Lake water system will not be charged for using the water refill station. The exact mechanism, how this will be addressed, has not yet been resolved, but that is in progress. But other people who are not on the Loon Lake water system, of course, many tourists and summer visitors visit that area, will also be able to purchase water from the fill station, and the largest size bottle that you can fill up is, I believe, 5 gallons. So that's one of the water cooler type ones. So we're not going to have people coming and filling tanker trucks. I hope I haven't given someone an idea. Anyway, any questions or comments on this? So this is the first recommendation. This is up to $80,000 for the Canada Community Building Fund. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's carried, and we have recommendation number 2. Director Smith, thank you. Seconded by Director Sarai. This is up to $175,000 of the Growing Communities Fund. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Canada Community Building Fund, again, 9.1.9, Savannah Water Treatment Plant. We have a recommendation. Director Grenier, thank you. Seconded by Director Haughton. Any discussion on this item? Director Grenier.
Chair, just a big shout out to Directors Haughton, Thorpe, and Morris for making this a little more comfortable on the financial side of things, making hopefully it happen. And of course, it's subject to your approval, the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this item? All right, on the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, that's carried. Item 9.1.10, City of Kamloops Regional Planning Service Participation Agreement. All right. Pardon me? Marnie? Sorry, Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
Can we just ensure that we use our microphones, please? I'd like to make an amendment to the recommendation, please.
So you'd like to move the recommendation, but you'd like to amend it. All right, if you could please read out your amended recommendation.
Okay, I'd like to amend this that we consider a 2-year contract and that we start a committee as soon as possible. My idea behind this is it would give us time to look at an agreement that is mutually beneficial for all parties involved, City of Kamloops, all 10 munis, and the electoral area directors. From this morning's EA meeting, which was very well attended by Kamloops and small munis, there was a lot of interest. But frankly, it seemed like everybody in the room was feeling pressured that we either had to say yes or no, and we had to make a quick decision. And I really want this to be done right, and I want it to be done with everybody's participation. I don't want to see the same issue 2 years down the road. So what I'm proposing is that we accept it as it is for 2 years, and that would give us time to set up that committee and would get a time for everybody to participate and hopefully be more cohesive rather than divisive. Thank you.
So just for clarification, you are moving the recommendation, except it will read the service be renewed for a 2-year term rather than 5-year term?
A 2-year term, and further to that, that we set up a committee to look at having a committee made up of City of Kamloops, small munis, and EA directors to start work as soon as possible to work on an agreement that would be in place prior to 2027.
Okay, thank you. Does that have a seconder? Director Grenier, thank you. Just for the benefit of those who were not here this morning, it has been determined that changing the recommendation from 5 years to 2 years would be a material change, and that would then have to be sent back to the City of Kamloops for them to agree to that. So it is, we can say that this is what we want on our side. It then has to go back to the City of Kamloops because they have signed, or they have agreed to 5 years. Just for the sake of clarification, Director Onslow, I saw that you had your hands up, and then I saw Director Bass.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to speak to the fact that I am not in favor of amending or accepting this amendment. I feel at the committee level that we heard very loud and clear from the member municipalities that their participation in this regional planning could be pulled if we were to amend this contract and not accept the contract with Kamloops as it is. And I also feel that Kamloops and the member municipalities are paying a fair amount for the participation and being able to vote while not utilizing staff time. They're not getting the exact same services that we are, and to say that the electoral area directors are getting. So to say that they're not paying their fair share, in my opinion, they certainly are. So I won't be supporting this amendment, and I certainly hope that it does not pass.
Thank you very much. I saw Director Bass's hand and then Director Thorpe.
Thank you. Since I'm horribly aware that there's an election coming up next year, I'm wondering about timeline in terms of this, given that we could see completely different people sitting here next year who might have a different opinion. So I'm just wondering if we should establish some sort of timeline to come to a decision on it. And I do not like the way my brain is thinking on this. I don't like to acknowledge there's an election coming, but it's thrown at me pretty much every day.
Thank you. So are you asking staff to clarify?
I'm just wondering if we should establish some sort of date to have a report done so that we don't find ourselves with half of a new board next year and everything changes again because it keeps changing.
Thank you. Okay, Director Thorpe?
Are you suggesting maybe a friendly amendment that it be, this be decided by, say, September of 26?
I could work with that.
I can work with that.
Okay.
What I want to clarify respectfully is I'm not suggesting that nobody is paying enough. I'm saying, let's look at it from everybody's point of view. I'm not saying somebody's paying too much. I'm not saying somebody's paying too little. I'm saying, let's take the opportunity to take a step back, have calm, cool heads prevail, and look at this with everybody involved as a committee, so that we don't have this them and us that I was hearing this morning that I found very unpleasant.
Corporate Officer Jeremiah?
With the first part of the agreement or the recommendation to amend the date, or sorry, amend the term of the contract, that would be a weighted stakeholder EA vote only. The second portion of this resolution would require a vote of the entire board, just to clarify that.
So for the sake of cleanliness, should it be two separate motions?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you agreeable to that, Director Thorpe? Can we sever this into two because otherwise it's a night.
Absolutely. I don't want a
Okay.
nightmare.
All right. So right now we are discussing the first part, which is that the agreement between the City of Kamloops and the TNRD for the city's continued participation in the Regional Planning Service be renewed for a 2-year term. So that is the recommendation, the resolution, motion that is on the floor right now. And right now on my speakers list, I have Vice Chair Smith, I have Director O'Reilly, and Director Sarai.
At the risk of going before the directors from the city of Kamloops, I just want to say that with that being a material change in the contract, I can't support it. I don't want to risk not having this go through. I think it's really important that this proceed the way that it's written. I think we can look at any provision of any service at any time, and I don't think that needs to be done right now. I think we've spent a significant amount of board and staff time on this issue already, and I would prefer to leave it as a 5-year agreement with the understanding that if we want to visit it again, we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Director O'Reilly and then Director Sarai. Anyone else who wants to speak, please put your hand up. I'll add you to the list.
Thank you. I think from my side and through the city of Kamloops and as a director, I find it frustrating. There was an agreement brought forward a few months back, and we had heard from the EA director saying we need to look at this. And TNRD staff had their orders from the EA directors. City staff had their directors from council to go forward and negotiate the deal that they thought was most palatable for both sides. And City of Kamloops ended up putting more money in, and it's not about just percentages, it's a dollar figure. We are increasing the amount that we are contributing to the planning agreement to be better together. And that's what we are. Our slogan is we're BC's best. And I think we're BC's best because we are better when we do things together. But by doing this now, we have once again changed the goalposts and give staff new direction again, because something came up. But when we talk about not comfortable because it's coming so quickly, we just made multi-million-dollar decisions over the last 10 minutes. And we do that every single meeting when we sit here. We've had the same amount of information, all of us around the table. And I think for it to come back to the city of Kamloops, I would not be in support of doing this for anything less than 5 years. This has taken an exorbitant amount of staff time on both the city side and the TNRD side. We are in this as a group. We are in this for a region. We're happy to be a part of this. And again, we stepped up. But other than this, I wouldn't be supporting it from a council side to go anything further. Staff took direction on both sides. This is the best agreement forward, and I hope that it's accepted and we can continue moving on supporting the planning department for the region. And if not, that's the decision of the EA directors. And then, excuse me, for following suits, it'll be other municipalities that will be picking up the tab. Every other municipality will be paying more, including the EAs. So again, this is where I just personally stand. I won't be supporting if it comes back to me asking to change the offer that we put out to the TNRD.
Thank you, Director Sarai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment on the morning meeting and the pressure that was put on the area directors. I think the pressure was put on the whole board as well. And this was brought up, this vote should have happened 2 meetings ago. And if you look at our seat at the table, we were caught off guard that it got postponed and deferred to another day. So when we talk about pressure and uncomfortableness, I think the municipality directors felt it even more. And so if there's going to be discussion on who's paying more, who's paying less, and what it's for, I think should be an open discussion, not directors going to staff and trying to change things by bringing up their own numbers and their own philosophies. That should be negotiation between 2 staffs, which the city did with the TNRD. And there's a contract in front of us. And if that's something you're not comfortable with, feel free to vote no, but don't bring information before us that is not proven or fact checked and try to convince us to change our mind. I think that's unfair to us. It's unfair to our partnership, and I will be not supporting this. I think the negotiation has been done and it's been done in good faith. And at the end of the day, I think the bottom line here, if you want the city to walk, then you can figure out what you're going to tell your residents, how you're going to make up that money.
And just a reminder that this is the vote when it happens on this particular motion will only be the 10 EA directors. We can all participate in this discussion, but the vote is only going to be the electoral area directors. Anyone else? Director Getz, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're probably wondering why I wasn't here this morning. Because I was scared to come. No, I wasn't. We're looking at this since December of last year with our staff going through every little bit that we've done with TNRD, where we are on certain things, such as environmental planning and zoning. Do we still use it? Do we not? So once we get all our ducks in a row, we'll be presenting that to the CAO and the staff, and our staff will talk about where we are, what we see as we need to move forward, and what's fair for all, because there are some things we simply do not use anymore. And there's some things that haven't been talked about in a number of years. So we're well away on our way to working it. But I think I agree with Director Sarai. This should be between staff and staff. And if you feel that you want to do a comprehensive study of what your city is doing, you have the staff to do it. You probably should check into it and then ask questions and get some information. So that's where we are on it. So.
Thank you. I've got Director Bass and then Director Lepsoe.
My apologies for my brain. I don't believe that City Council has another meeting before the deadline. And I'm wondering how that impacts on all of this as well. We would have to call a special meeting, during summer. And that has its own costs and its own requirements as well. So maybe we need some clarity on whether whatever you guys do to here today, the council can deal with it before the August 31st deadline.
Thank you, Director Lepsoe.
Yeah, the Village of Chase has looked at it similarly to, I think, Merritt. So we have a separate agreement, and maybe we have the option of opting out. So let's say you run it down the line and all the municipalities opt out. I'm just wondering what the regional directors, Kamloops opts out, we all opt out. Now what? Now what happens? Like, we'll still be okay. I would just like to see this, as the co-chair said, it just seems a simple, great thing. The Village of Chase loves Kamloops. We love the TNRD. This should be a simple love fest. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Director Newstater, Director Laird, I believe, and Director Thorpe.
Just a question. We are a governance board. We're not an operational board. So it has been mentioned a couple of times. Our job is to give direction to staff on both sides of the table. Staff go and do the work. They come back to us. with proposals. I think what I'm hearing is that there's been a lot of board interference along the way as well as this has played out. And I'm curious if we can have an estimation, what has it cost the TNRD when the board gets involved to this level? So using that kind of capacity from staff, can we have a ballpark figure, whether that's hours and cost, about what it looks like when a board does not stick to our responsibilities and our obligations, which is to give direction, not to tear deep into the roots of the process?
Through the chair to Director Newsted, that's a tough question off the top of my head. I know that this topic has been in a focus for this entire week and a few days last week. It included myself, it included corporate services with ledge services, it included planning. So multiple managers and senior managers over the last week. So it's taken a significant amount of time and effort, and that there's a cost associated with that, but I just don't know what that estimate would be.
And I think that's fair enough, but hearing that, those numbers and that many bodies involved and that much time involved, the city has kicked in an extra $100,000 to this agreement. That sounds to me like that's probably pretty close to the equivalent value in staff time as well. There are hard costs and there are soft costs. And I think that's something this board needs to really consider. If we were all to eat up that amount of operational time on anything that's stuck in our craw, the TNRD gets expensive real fast, and dollars that should be going into planning are otherwise used up. Additionally, from the city side, when I consider it and I look at it, this is the cost of 2 planners for the city of Kamloops. If we were to opt out, we can provide what we need to better for our own residents. Again, we do this to be good neighbors. We do this because we believe the region benefits the region, and we care about the health of rural communities, and we care about development that's happening and happening well. But I think we need to think really carefully about the fact that communities can spend our dollars elsewhere, and the conversation goes both ways, and it does damage to relationship.
Thank you. Director Thorpe.
Thank you, Chair. This isn't just about Kamloops, respectfully. As several municipalities have indicated, they're coming due in 2 years. I can see this happening again in 2 years, and I don't want that to happen. I'm thinking that if we have this, and I know it's uncomfortable, because honestly, I thought this was coming last month, and I was going to suggest that we do something like this, but then it got dropped off the agenda. I'm thinking more in terms of all of us working together and finding a solution that works for everybody. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the solution, but we know that 2 years down the road, we're going to have another issue when we've got the smaller municipalities. And so I'm saying, let's form a committee, let's talk about this, and let's deal with it together rather than what seems to be happening, as I said, was very uncomfortable this morning.
Thank you. Director Thorpe, sorry, if I may, just a correction on what you just said. According to the agreement signed between the TNRD and the municipalities, all excepting Kamloops, of course, this agreement shall commence on the first day of October 2022 for a term of 5 years. The agreement shall be considered renewed for 1 additional 5-year term unless notice of termination has been given by the member municipalities in the last year of the agreement in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. So provided that none of the member municipalities indicate that they want given notice to terminate, then this will not be coming up with the member municipalities apart from Kamloops for another 7 years.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So if in 2027, one of the municipalities said, we don't like this deal, we want out unless this changes X, Y, Z, is that a likelihood? Is that possible under this agreement? Because frankly, that's how I read it.
Through the chair to Director Thorpe, we have individual contracts and with each of the municipalities, they're not one. So it would be piecemeal, I guess, would be the way to, so one may come out, but that will still impact everyone else. Or all may come out, it depends.
The supplement to that could happen in 2027 realistically then. It is a possibility.
To be honest, it could happen at any time because there's always out clauses in any of these contracts that we try to follow the wording, but
with the
somebody can challenge
5-year agreement and 2027 where it says they can opt out at that point, that is most likely when we're going to have the for lack of a word, potential issue?
Possibly, I don't know.
Thank you.
Again, I just want to jump in here. I very much dislike speculation about what might or might not happen. Going by the Village of Ashcroft, ever since we first signed on to this, which is more than 3 decades ago, there has never been the hint of a question that we're not going to re-sign, ever. I suspect that the other now 10, obviously that number has fluctuated over the years as we incorporated more municipalities. I would suspect if we all dug back through our records, and I am in no way advocating this because we've already spent far too much staff time on it, we would find that every single time this came up, which is once every 10 years, we listen to a presentation from the TNRD Planning Department, we all go, that sounds like a great idea, and the mayor of the day signs it. And I would just like to, while I have the floor, this is from the report that our CAO, Daniela Dick, prepared for the Village of Ashcroft, July 25th, 2022 council meeting when this came up for discussion. And she prepared a report for staff because it does only come up usually once every 10 years, so new to most of us. She wrote down why we participate in this when we get no service from it. We get no planning services from it. All the planning services carried out by the planning department paid for under this agreement are 100% done in the electoral areas for EA residents. Any planning services that the Village of Ashcroft gets from the TNRD, and we are very appreciative of those services, we pay for under a separate contract. Over and above this. What this payment gets us is a chance for me or whoever is representing the Village of Ashcroft at this table at a given time to participate in discussions about zoning in Avola, in 16 Mile, in Lower Nicola, in Spence's Bridge, and have a vote. That is what we are paying for, all of us. We are not paying for any planning services from the TNRD. We are paying to have a part at the table. And I just want to read this out from my CAO, Daniela Dick, who is very good at putting things in a pithy way, unlike me. Ashcroft has been a participating community in this service for many years, as it provides an equal voice at the TNRD table and opportunity for village input regarding planning and development in the region. That is why it is important to the Village of Ashcroft to be a part of this so that we are an equal voice at the TNRD table and we have input regarding planning and development. That is what this money pays for. It is important to the Village of Ashcroft. I can't speak on behalf of my fellow municipalities. I suspect it's important to all of us to be able to participate at this table as part of a team and think regionally for what is best for the TNRD. Until recently, we were hearing swirls that maybe there was a division between the municipal and the electoral area directors at the TNRD table. And until recently, and in fact, as recently as last month, we were hearing no, there wasn't. There was no division. This is creating division. So anyone who wanted to prove their thesis that there is division between municipal and electoral area directors, this is doing it right here. All right, who do I have? I have Director Laird, Director Getz, Vice Chair Smith, I'm sorry. Anyone else wants to put their hands up? Director Onslow, Director O'Toole. Okay, Director Laird, you're next.
My question was answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Getz.
Yes, just to let you know that we have no intentions of breaking away from TNRD at all. We just want to make sure that we're all working in the same area and everybody's getting a fair deal and that nothing's being missed. So we have no intentions of ever removing ourselves from the TNRD. We just want to make sure that in this day and age that we are as being frugal as possible. Thank you.
Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair. My question is actually for staff. So the member municipalities that have opted into the agreement under a certain amount in terms of cost, Is that going to change for the municipalities if Kamloops does not continue to participate under the agreement we're talking about right now? And what does that look like? Because technically we've signed an agreement with the TNRD with the understanding we're going to pay X amount, and obviously that amount has the potential to change significantly with today's decision. So I just have a question about that.
Through the chair, so the agreement with the 10 member municipalities outside the city of Kamloops have it worked out that they pay 50% of their respective share of the planning function. So the way it's interpreted is once the city of Kamloops, if the city of Kamloops is not part of the agreement, then the total requisition gets divided by assessment between the remaining member municipalities and the EAs. And that's why in the table in the report, it shows what would happen in that those costs would be redistributed to the remaining member municipalities. That's why there was a hypothetical shown that those member municipalities might no longer be willing to pay that increased amount when they weren't expecting that and didn't negotiate that and have it as part of their original agreement in 2022. And that's where there's fear that all the municipalities may leave at that time. So the cost would be redistributed and there would be higher costs to the remaining member municipalities and to the EAs.
If I may. And would that distribution happen immediately?
It would happen for the 2026 year. Yes.
Thank you.
Director Onslow.
Thank you. I'm just going to reflect on this conversation and the point of division, which we've thrown this around way too much in the last month. However, when this meeting was, or this topic was first deferred to come to today's electoral area committee meeting, it was my understanding that it was solely for us to better understand the contract. And I was shocked by the email that our chair sent out, as well as Director Grenier's information, that all of a sudden we wanted to change the game. That was not what me as an electoral area director expected. And it was not something that I was comfortable with. That's why I'm standing or in Zoom land. But really, it's quite upsetting. Like, I don't know, like, are we not hearing the room as electoral area director? Like, listen to this room. Nobody wants this contract to not go through, except for a few people. And I hope that we can really think about what it is we're doing. Like, if we fundamentally change what Kamloops is doing, they easily will pull out. And then we have a whole nother batch of problems. And there wasn't a problem, a perceived problem. I didn't perceive a problem. I don't think anyone else in the electoral areas perceived a problem until that email came out. And now I hope that the damage that's been done by that can be reversed. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director O'Toole?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to kind of, couple things. One, I'm on the same page as Director Getz. I think as a regional district municipality, we have no intent of at any time not being a part of the regional district. We see the benefits of working collaboratively as a very important thing. To your comment earlier, Chair, on the speculation factor, I think I should just kind of clarify for those who are going to vote here shortly. And obviously I'm speaking just as one vote in Sun Peaks, but I can tell you that if this gets set up in such a way that it goes back to the city of Kamloops and the city of Kamloops votes not to move forward and opt out, we'll fulfill our 2-year requirement that's left in our contract. But I can pretty much guarantee that I'll be recommending to council that we exercise our option to reevaluate, because I'm going to have a pretty hard time explaining to residents why all of a sudden our cost is going to go up by almost triple. So that's not a speculation. I can tell you that's fact. That's how I'll approach it.
Thank you. Director Haughton.
I've been thinking about this probably, I think I told you this morning, or probably longer, and I've done lots of things, but I think that the item that maybe I wouldn't say bothering, that's not the right word. It's not really bothering, but it's the three good neighbor ridings that surround the city of Kamloops. I'll use that term again, not fringe. As maybe if we could relook at that whole policy, rename it number one, but set it on where that's headed and how we're going to manage the borders between the three. I think that's the most obvious. I think that would go a long ways in settling some temperature in this room and maybe look at where we want to go. I know Director Riley's once told me, he said, maybe we don't need that thing. I think we need some kind of a policy, but I think maybe we should relook at that whole thing and how we develop on our side of the border and what happens within this side of the border. I think if there's tension, I think that's probably it in a nutshell. And if we can solve that problem, I don't think the dollars are the big thing. I think it's the control of development if we want to do something within our three areas and have the city maybe control on what we can do within an X mile radius. I think they should have a say maybe, but maybe we should look at that whole policy as a group and see where that's headed. And I think we'll find out the air quality will change dramatically in this room. And I think that would be one way of solving our issue. I don't think this is the dollar is the big item here. Thank you.
Director Middleton?
Thank you. And Director Haughton, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I'd also like to suggest that perhaps discussions on new policy and these existing policies and whatnot might be better to be, I'm just going to say, somewhat delayed or deferred. We have an election coming up next year. We don't know who's going to be sitting around this table and who's going to be making decisions going forward. But I think with everything that's on the plates, with October 2026 rapidly approaching, that perhaps this should just maintain status quo where we are right now and put this on the agenda, perhaps with some workshop and some learnings and whatnot to whomever is going to be sitting at the table after October 2026 and look at those changes then. That with the length of time that it takes to make change, anything accomplished here now by trying to sort of revisit likely wouldn't sort of get done fast enough to be impactful come forward. I think the biggest impact, if we look at what's coming forward, and I would hope the EA directors are cognizant of that, is that you're attempting to sort of make decisions or rein in or possibly affect your taxation very badly at the end of this term and coming into the next one. And I don't think, say, most residents and taxpayers probably aren't paying much attention to this. Most of them don't even know this stuff exists. But I think if found that decisions were made here now today that are going to change their taxation moving forward, that I just can't see what the end game is in this for the EA directors that are not supportive of keeping this agreement going. It sort of boggles me a little that this is even a consideration. I think the EA directors should be thankful that they have the support of the municipalities on this, because it is saving their taxpayers many dollars, and I think that should be recognized.
Thank you, Director Sal.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to say I am in support of what Director Onslow mentioned, that we got a good process going. But however, I just want to share my thoughts that we should look at this not too personally. I think, like we said at all public hearings, that nobody should feel hesitation to voice their opinions, as Director Grenier and Director Laird did. So I just really hope that, when we move forward, this doesn't put pause on anybody else, for any other topic for that matter, to, oh, maybe I shouldn't speak up. I think this is a healthy, it's a hard debate discussion, but it's a healthy one. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Or Director Laird? Anyone?
Thank you,
And
Madam Chair.
just make one last call for anyone. I'll be keeping my eyes open for hands. Director Laird.
I tend to agree with Marg, the counselor from Kamloops. I think it's worthwhile to review this, and I do agree that it should be done. When you look at the timelines, I don't think we would actually have it completed. I think it's a good thing to be sure that it gets discussed with the next EA, the next board. A lot of this information that we're talking about today, we didn't know it even existed when we all got elected. We didn't know as EA directors exactly why municipalities were involved in planning in the regional district. I got an excellent report from Alex on how this all came about. That's the first time I've ever had it explained to me in all the time I've been on the board. And this, and at the top of my memo, I put, this is for discussion. And we're having an excellent discussion, deciding what's valuable and where we're going. And I do agree that we should not drop this, but have it brought up in a very similar, however the staff decide to bring it forward, so that all EA directors and municipal directors understand exactly the way our planning department works. That would, I think, work for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further hands up, I'll read the recommendation out, and then there will be a weighted stakeholder vote. The electoral area directors only voting on the following recommendation: that the agreement between the City of Kamloops and the TNRD for the city's continued participation in the Regional Planning Service be renewed for a 2-year term, 25% of the service's tax requisition up to a maximum of $350,000 per year, commencing January 1st, 2026, and that the CAO and the corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement. The only change between this and the recommendation as printed is that this changes it to 2-year rather than 5-year term. So I'm going to call the question.
You also set a deadline of before September.
Pardon me?
Director Thorpe also agreed to setting the deadline of having it ready before September next year.
Right. No, that's now been separated into a second recommendation because the whole board gets to vote on that part. Okay. So for the EA directors only, all those voting in support of the recommendation, the 2-year recommendation. We have Director Grenier, Director Thorpe, EA directors who are opposed to the recommendation with the 2-year term.
Opposed.
That's Director Onslow, Director Haughton, Director Sow, Director Smith, Director Laird, Director Morris, Director Graham, and Director Hayward. All right, so that motion is defeated. So now we do have the original recommendation with the 5-year term. If someone would like to make that motion. Sorry, who's Director Bass, seconded by Director Morris. I saw your hand go up. All right, so now. No, I don't, that's an interesting question. If you can't vote on it, can you make the motion?
No, you cannot. It's an EA stakeholder
All right.
decision.
So
only.
Director Morris, you've been upvoted to making that motion. You've made the motion. You've been upvoted, and Director Haughton has now seconded that motion. Did you put your hand up, Director Haughton? You did? Okay, second, okay. So you've both gone from up the middle platform, as it were. So that's okay. So now we have the recommendation as printed in your agenda. Is there any more discussion to be had, or? All right, again, this is a weighted stakeholder vote for the electoral area directors only. The recommendation is as printed in your agenda. All those in favor?
In favor.
In favor of the recommendation, that's so Director Onslow, Director Thorpe, Haughton, Sow, Smith, Laird, Morris, Hayward, and Graham. All those opposed? Director Grenier, thank you. All right, the motion is passed. And Director Thorpe, did you want to make a motion about striking a committee to look into this or, okay?
Can we still make the second recommendation then, just so that we can deal with it down the road?
So if you, perhaps Corporate Officer Jeremiah, do we want to go ahead with that, Corporate Officer?
It might be best to do this as a notice of motion, as it will take considerable staff time in order to.
Well, let's leave it for now, because if this is going to happen in 2027, it's going to get punted down the road when the next one comes due, and it'll be a new board. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turn that on. All right, we have for information, item number 9.1.11, building permit activity. Anyone have any questions or comments around building permit activity? Excuse me. Correspondence, action requested, District of 100 Mile House. They are looking for a letter of support regarding the discontinuing of portions of the Canadian National Line. Director Blackwell?
I would like to make a motion that the board write a letter of support in
All right, seconded by Director Smith. Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Director Blackwell?
yeah, just to state that I think it's awfully premature to discontinue and rip up this rail line. I know right now it might be at a little bit of an ebb, but historically this line has provided service for both passenger and for freight. And I could easily see with the resource boom coming, especially with mining, that there might be need for it in the future. I think it'd be great to have CN hold off on this for a decade and wait for things to shake out.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I believe this is the line that we saw when we were out at Pear Lake and we saw the Rocky Mountaineer go past on it while we were out there, so. All right, so Director Blunt, so we have a motion. Anyone have any further contributions? Director Haughton?
Does anybody know if the MP of the area, probably Frank Caputo, has he been notified of this, and is he going to be in support and fight for us on our behalf?
That's a very good question. Perhaps we could copy MP Caputo on the letter that we send. Yep, and MLA, is it in Caribou Chilcotin riding? Laura Dirksen, so copy MLA Dirksen as well.
I do note that they're actually all copied in this letter, with the exception of the local MP Caputo is not, from what I can see on this list, but all the other MLAs and MPs for the region are.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have a number of items for information only. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of the information correspondence items? Director Newstader.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the letter that came from the City of Kamloops from Deputy Mayor Bass of the month. The reason that we opted to send this, I brought this motion forward at our council table. The reason we opted to send it out to regional districts as well is because this would benefit all areas of our province. Having a community land trust creates opportunity for land donation that would stay within whatever municipality that is or area that is. Right now, there are a lot of tax penalties that people pay, even if they want to donate land to be used for public housing or building or other things like that. The Kamloops Chamber of Commerce and District has worked really hard on this policy. They've been doing advocacy at every level of government and substantially at the federal level. And so what they're hoping is that letters of support would come from any table like this that convenes, that has residents who are impacted by housing crisis, by developing that kind of a thing. So the hope would be that the TNRD would also send a similar letter of support of this policy to the federal government.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments on information correspondence items? All right, we move on to new business. Is there any new business from members? Oh, Corporate Officer Jeremiah?
Just for clarification, would Director Newstader like us to move this into correspondence for information or for action so that we could
If I felt there was support from the board, that the board was interested in that benefit to the TNRD, then certainly. So I'll move that then.
All right, moved by Director Newstater, seconded by Vice Chair Smith. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. All right, now on, we move on to new business. Anyone have any new business? All right, Director Kerslake and Director O'Connor, or Director Kershaw, sorry. Karpuk. It starts with a K. Take your pick. You can arm wrestle for who gets it. Director Karpuk and then Director O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair. Just to let members know, as the current Vice Chair of the Shuswap Watershed Council, we're making a petition to the Salmon Arm Council and I believe CSRD to encourage them to rejoin us as we have rejigged the strategic plan or in the process of doing that within the Shuswap Watershed Council. This is part of the Fraser Basin Council, looking at not water as just a quality, but also in quantity as we're looking at changes across the landscape. For those who don't know, the CSRD and the Community of Salmon Arm stepped away from the Shuswap Watershed Council and withdrew their funding through a referendum. We think that with the right information and perhaps the right persuasion, a few of us going can persuade them to join us in advocacy for not only the invasive species, but we'll say water safety, which here in the city of Kamloops, unfortunately, has been top of mind with some recent drownings. There's an opportunity to look at how we're monitoring and with reflection back to when we had a recent meeting with our MPs here, we think we can do equitable funding requests that we're not getting, that most of the funding for invasive species is going out to the Eastern Canada and specifically the Great Lakes. And as much as they are a big body of water, we also have watersheds that need to be protected out here too. So I look forward to doing that early in September with some other colleagues, and hopefully we're successful in getting them to join in our advocacy to make sure that our region is well represented on water quality and quantity issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Karpuk. I do apologize so much. Director O'Connor. And then I have after that Directors Lepsoe and Haughton.
Thank you. Just to let everyone know that on the long weekend coming up is our annual River Festival down in Lytton. And on the Friday, we're going to be having our grand opening of our Public Works building that's been rebuilt. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, and on the Saturday, a village open house in that same building. So if you make your way down to Lytton on the long weekend, you're more than welcome.
And something that I don't know if they've done it formally at the River Festival for a while, but it is becoming a very, very popular part, is an opportunity to go down to where the two rivers meet and hear stories from elders. You meet at a certain place, so you get bussed down, so transportation is taken care of, and you go down and you listen to stories of the river and the land from elders. And that has just become, I think quietly almost, it's become a huge part of the River Festival.
Yeah, that will be happening both days, Saturday and Sunday this year.
Director Lepsoe.
I'd just like to mention the Sconlith Indian Band is going to be having a powwow the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. I find those very good opportunities to have fun. Thanks.
Director Haughton.
Love Fest.
Now that we're through this funding part of the meeting, and I know my pet peeve, and I'm being serious about this, is to change the name of the fringe area to the good neighbor policy. Is that something I need to make a motion on? Because I am serious about it. I'm not just about today, but in the future. And I think that one word would bring harmony between the three neighboring electoral areas in the city. If we change that, seems like we're changing names all over this province. And if that's doable, I'll make a motion right now that we change it. Thank you.
Second.
Corporate Officer Jeremiah. Is this a possibility?
This is one of our policies, so we can bring it to the Policy and Governance Committee for decision.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under new business? All right, we move on to notice of motion. Director Morris.
Thank you. So yes, notice of motion. Whereas to Kamloops, Karpuk, the East Paul Lake Fire Brigade, the Paul Lake Community Association, and the Pinnetan Lake Fire and EMS Association have all expressed support for the TNRD to investigate the opportunity to create a joint fire department to service the Paul Lake Pinnetan Lake Road corridor. And whereas preliminary meetings have taken place between these organizations and the TNRD staff to discuss the concept, therefore, be it resolved that a feasibility study and public consultation process be conducted in accordance with TNRD Board Policy Number 14.1.4 at an estimated cost of $25,000 to be funded from the Electoral Area Administration function and reimbursed by the service area only if a service is ultimately established.
Thank you very much for giving us that notice of motion, and that will be coming back presumably at the next meeting. Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
Hard copies are available if anyone would like to take one with them. We will also email them out to the board.
Thank you. And I don't think there are any more notices of motion. We are now on to item 13, question period. Are there any questions from anyone in the gallery or online? No? No questions? All right, then we are adjourned. Enjoy the rest of August, everyone. We'll see you in September.